Hi there, my name is Daoud Merkel, and I am the digital director and co-founder of a branding and web design agency that we call Doing Good. And you've been in contact with Jasmine, and Jasmine asked me to do a video review of your website for you. Now, I'm going to jump in and kind of go quickly through this, knowing that you can scrub back and forth through the video. And at the end, I'll mention how we can meet and discuss these things a little further. So let me just jump right in. First of all, when I look at your website, in general, visually, it's attractive. There's nothing I would jump out and say this is horrible or horrific. However, I think there's lots of missed opportunities that it's as though your website was created sort of from the perspective of what you wanted as a practice and not so much thinking about what your potential patients are looking for and what they need to know. And so let me start by saying the header here, it feels really cluttered. It feels like you tried to stuff as much as you could up in here, up in the header area. And it just gives us this feeling that it's not, that it's cluttered and it's not really well thought of. And anytime that you do that, it sends a subtle message to your website visitors that you're cluttered and your practice is cluttered and so on and so forth. Just to kind of give you an idea. So there's better ways that we could approach these buttons if they're that important. One thing I'd say about request an appointment in this modern day, people aren't thinking requesting an appointment and going to a form to fill out that they're going to email and then hear back from. If you're going to really put this as front and center on your website, requesting an appointment, and I'll show you in a mobile editor. Hopefully, you've looked at your site on your mobile phone. This is the first thing people are going to really see that's usable on the site is schedule an appointment. Then let's get a third-party appointment service, an online-based appointment service, where people can actually schedule their appointment, and we can discuss what that would look like. But anyway, just too much stuff up here. One thing you're doing well though is at least in the header, you've made your phone number tappable on a phone, which is a big deal because that means when people tap, they can call. And there's a lot of websites that aren't doing that still, even though we're 4 or 5 years into this mobile world. As I scroll down on your homepage, this top section, the right under your navigation bar, this top section is critical to communicating to your patients what your brand is about. And we're going to talk about branding for a second because we're a branding agency. Branding is a lot more than just visuals. Branding, we look at branding as kind of 6 pillars of how you communicate who it is you are, what you do, why you do it, who you do it for, why should they care about your work. We look at branding from these 6 pillars that kind of cover those questions. But let me cover 2 things that sort of encompass those 6 questions. When you think of branding, again, visuals are part of it, but it's really about how you communicate. What are the 2 things that are most critical in communicating through your brand? First, is as a potential patient, when I look at your content, when I look at your website, when I look at your design, when I look at you on my mobile phone, what is it that I believe you can do for me? I don't see much of that on your homepage at all, which may keep me here, may make me leave. Now, if I'm interested in weight loss, if I know I have an issue with my gut or thyroid, if there's something going on with my hormones, or if I have neuropathy, I may be in the right place. Um, but this whole section right under your navigation bar is where it's critical to communicate how it is that you can help me specifically. So wellness way testing might be interesting if I'm a new patient, but I don't know why. What's the context as to why I would take that? New patients, I could potentially be a new patient. Oops, sorry. But when I go here, I don't get a lot of information about why I would become a new patient. What I get is what I would download, what steps I would take in becoming a new patient. But why would I become a new patient? That's not answered. Our services might be interesting to me. Weight loss might be interesting, and events might be interesting. But still, I don't know why it is I'm on this website. We should discuss using Eventbrite and how it can be on your website instead of going to the Eventbrite page, especially for a button, for a large button that's, in a really, really important place on your website. So anyway, so these 5 buttons, while they're attractive and the animation's nice, really don't answer that first question. What can you do for me as a potential patient? Now, the second thing that you want to communicate through your brand is how are you different? How do you differentiate yourself from other similar practices out there? And I don't see a lot of that either. And even when I dig a little bit more into your content, and we talk about, hypothyroid, for instance, I don't really get a sense of how working with you would be different than having worked with another practice. And really, really important part of branding is communicating that. And so really giant missed opportunities here at the top of your homepage. And again, it's neat, it's sort of attractive, the buttons animate, but they don't really answer the core items that a potential patient, or for that matter, a past patient, would be on your site looking for. Nice here, the welcome message. This really isn't about me. It's about you guys. This really should be further down on the page, and we should have some sections in here that are much more about me and what I'm looking for as a potential patient. It's also interesting that you chose to highlight your phone number here and make it tappable, but basically nowhere else on the website is the phone number tappable. I think maybe it might have been on the contact page, I can't remember. But all these other places, your phone number is not clickable or tappable. Huge inconsistency, and again, sort of sends the wrong message that you're really trying to use your website in an effective manner. Another thing is, again, the bottom of this site might be kind of attractive. I did take a look at Dr. Multimedia. I'm familiar with their service actually, just didn't know them by name. This image gets in the way of your text. This is not all that readable. And if I go back to my mobile emulator and scroll down, you're going to see it's even worse. So I really can't read this text. It's not usable for me. So doing some sort of different background here would be really critical in making this bottom section of your website important. The fact that you're putting testimonials here, the fact that you have your office hours, really important that you have a footer that people can read. So let me go back to, I mentioned the navigation bar, I mentioned the phone numbers. Let's take a look at your content a little bit. So one thing that, these, we could get into the specifics of these, I could do that when we talk, but one thing that kind of was a little shocking was clicking on weight loss and going to a completely different site. Now I get that Dr. Hellman, that if he's listening, having a chance to listen to this, I get that you have your weight loss program. I'm sure that somebody built this sales page for you, but give people a buffer. Let them know, especially at a main level navigation link, let them know they're going to go somewhere else. So buffering this by having them click into a page that explains what they're about to do and they can click here to buy, it isn't so jarring. It really looks like, I'll just say it this way, it looks unprofessional. So excuse me for sounding that judgmental, but that's really what it looks like, and I don't want to be sugarcoating in how I explain these things to you. Also, there's inconsistency on how your navigation bar works. So here I can click a top level nav thing, but here I can't. If I keep clicking here on gut and thyroid, it doesn't take me anywhere. Same thing with hormone therapy, but neuropathy will take me somewhere. So you want to have these links consistent so that I'm not surprised. So I click weight loss, I go somewhere else. I click neuropathy, I end up on your website. I click gut and thyroid, I don't go anywhere. Now, is the website broken? Am I not using it right? It could be something that causes me to leave because I really want to learn about this, but why isn't this clickable? Why isn't this clickable? This is. And so again, just another thing to consider on your site. These things may seem minor, but you have to put yourself in the mind of the user. That's one of our focuses, my partner and I. That's one of the places that we really focus is on user-centric websites, user-centric design, thinking through how the user, who's most likely not highly technical, is going to use your website and what's going to make them stumble from finding what they actually are looking for, and removing as many of those obstacles as possible. Now, this was another page that kind of confused me. So we have Dr. Gum here in his interview, and I didn't find Dr. Gum anywhere else on the website. Now, I'm going to speak to this for just 90 seconds, but if his book, Blueprint to Neuropathy, is something you use in your site, then you should precursor what the video is about and why it's here. If he's part of your practice, he should be included in your practice, of course. It was just unclear to me, and yet it sounds like the program, if you're using this Blueprint to Neuropathy program, it sounds like there's a lot of success with it. And I know I have family members myself who have issues with neuropathy. And so major thing, something that I feel, the book's not here to buy. There's no more details about the book. There's not really a lot of information about how this Blueprint to Neuropathy would be different than another treatment or other treatments, surgical treatments and pharmaceutical treatments for neuropathy. And so that's concerning a little bit, but yet the video gives me some good information. So it's nice to have the video here, but what if I don't watch the video? What if I just read this text and am never inspired to listen to the video? I'll never learn the things that are in it. And so, again, you can do this throughout the other pieces of content on your site, but having more specific content that's geared toward those two things that I mentioned early on about branding. What can you do for me? And more importantly, what do I believe that you can do for me, which is how you want to communicate in your content. And how are you different? How do you differentiate yourself from other practices that can help solve some of the issues with neuropathy? another thing to really consider. I didn't look at your social media pages. Again, the header being so cluttered, I think that the social media buttons are in the wrong place. Probably this could be a little smaller to take some heat off the address that is. And having a little map link, a small little map link I could click on, even a map icon in here would be useful to me. Overall, what it feels to me is that you have a template, that you purchased a template from a medical service, and it's not really serving your needs. That you probably plugged in what you thought was right, or you told them what they thought was right, and they just plugged in for you what you wanted. Really, what you want ultimately in your website is to utilize it in a way that really solves your practice's needs. And again, that's a focal point that my partner and I can bring to the fold is, between us, we have more than 40 years of experience doing branding, graphical design, and web development, and solving problems through online services. And so, this isn't a sales pitch to work with us. What it is an opportunity to see that you can get way more out of your website than you are already. And so I'm going to leave things here. And I'm gonna wrap this up in a second. What I want to say is the next step would be to schedule an appointment with Jasmine. We'll spend 15, 20 minutes on the phone together. That call is 100% completely free. And what we'll do is we can answer some of these questions, talk about some of the choices you've made with your website, your header, your buttons, why your navigation works the way it does. Why'd you put these buttons here? Maybe you have a reason that makes a lot of sense. Happy to discuss all of these things and other things. Maybe there's things that aren't on your website that you'd really like to have that maybe didn't fit or maybe you've grown into. The bottom line is that 15 to 20 minute call is for you. It's for you to get your questions answered, raise concerns, ask us, anything that you have to ask about your online presence and about your brand. We're happy to answer those things. That phone call, that session is free. It's not a sales call either. What we'll do is at the end of our 15 to 20 minute call, if you want to then discuss what it would be like to go further, we'll be happy to discuss putting a proposal together and what that would look like, and set up a different meeting where we'll talk about the specifics of working together. This is really just a time for you. I can't reiterate that enough. People get confused thinking that 20 minutes first is something that they pay for. It's not. And that it's some kind of us, hamstringing you into buying services from us. We call our company Doing Good for a reason. That is the central pillar of our work. It is our tent pole in the middle of our circus, if you will. We live by the idea that we want to do good. And so we want to provide you with solutions and answers before we ever talk about what it would be like to work together and costs and all that stuff. So that 15 to 20 minutes is for you to get what you need from us. And then we can discuss whether or not we want to go further with that. So hopefully that's helpful. Once again, I want to reiterate that my name is Daoud Miracle. My last name really is Miracle. People ask me that all the time. I am the co-founder and digital director of Doing Good Branding and Web Design Agency. And people ask us all the time what we do. So in a nutshell, let me say that we build thriving brands for functional, integrative, and holistic medical practices with remarkable websites that get you the patients that you want. Your ideal patients, if you will. So we'd love to have a chat with you. That would be our next step, and I look forward to it. Thanks so much.